Everyone, I'm Michael. I'm going to be your host for this morning's session. Quite a simple topic this morning. We're starting to look at more on the reporting side in certain webinars. So today we're just looking at one of the basic reports that you've got available, and it's the daybooks. Right, let's have a look at what we're covering. So brief introduction. We'll have a look at what the report shows itself. Obviously, that depends on the criteria you specify. We'll run through a bit of a demonstration and pick up a few hints and tips along the way as well. And then also look at maybe some of the options that you've got on there as well. And then right at the end, just additional support. And if there's anything outstanding, I'll try my best to pick that up as well. Do bear with me as well. The cough is still here, so keep choking here and there if my mic goes quiet. It's probably me just having a coughing fit. But we'll see how we get on. Okay, so let's get started. So a little bit of background to just customer reports in general, I suppose daybooks as well. So daybooks, it's something that's available just about throughout the program in basically most of the ledgers. You have it within customers, suppliers, you have it nominal, you have it in the banking area as well. And the idea of a daybooks area is that it will show a list of transactions normally of a single type. So when you run it, they all used to be listed separately as well, historically. So when you run the reports, you would go into the daybooks area and you would choose a daybook, customer invoices or the customer credits or the customer receipts or whatever it was. So it would actually list those reports individually. And those have been, a lot of them have been merged now in our attempt to tidy that up. So we're going to be looking today at the customer side of the daybooks reports. So when we're going to customers reports, you'll have that daybooks folder. Now, depending on the one you specify, it will determine what criteria is displayed. But these days, the first criteria that you are going to be prompted for is what's the transaction type that you want to run the report for. Now, obviously, we're going to concentrate on probably the invoices option. So when you run it, obviously, you'll be able to choose that from the drop down. So it was version 30 and above. If anyone's using a slightly older version, you may find that you've got the individual reports still listed. So you'll have that daybook, customer invoices, daybook, customer credits, all listed separately, and you would just run the appropriate report. But again, to try and streamline that, what we've done is we've consolidated a number of reports, and I've included a link as well because other reports have been consolidated in the software as well. It just means now essentially you've got the one report, and when you run that, it will just present you with the relevant criteria, and you'll be able to choose the transaction type you're after. So let's just have a quick look at the report first of all. As I say, it's quite a simple probably quite a simple session, this one as well. But we'll try and chuck in some additional information as we go. Right, let me share my screen. We'll get stuck in with a bit of a demo. Right, you'll see my desktop at that point. I'm going to be using version 34 today. So if you're not aware, version 34 been around for about nearly 2 months now. If you haven't got that yet, just head to our help center, search for version 34 or install, and it'll guide you through that process. So you have to download that and get that installed. Right, okay, so let's pop into customers first of all. Just make sure nothing's highlighted at this stage. So I've got clear, it's grayed out, meaning that nothing is highlighted. As soon as I highlight things, you'll see it becomes active. And if I click clear, it just removes any highlights. So I've got nothing selected at the moment. And if we pop into reports, you've got your daybooks option over here on the left. So as I mentioned, you'll have a similar folder in other ledgers as well. There's a few daybooks, obviously some designed for different VAT schemes, just built up over the years as well, which is why we went through that sort of merge process. So rather than you have loads of daybook reports listed for just getting your transaction lists, you've now got the two. So the two key ones here are the summary and the details. If we start with the summary, And some of you might already be familiar as well, but the differences between a summary report and a detailed report. I'll try and explain that along the way. So this is where we can specify the transaction type that we're after. So the main, obviously the main ones available there. You'll notice on here, it doesn't list things like customer receipts, refunds. If you want those, you'll need to run those reports from within the bank accounts area. So we'll just choose invoices. Customer reference, obviously you can specify that if you want to try and narrow that down. I would normally recommend that you make your selection beforehand, before you even come into this screen. So when you're just looking at your list of records, I'll go through how you can select records in a moment. A couple of tips for you along the way. You've got your transaction date range. Now, if you're not aware of this, hopefully you are, you've got your little, what we term the date picker field. So rather than you type in whatever date range you're after, you probably should find that if you click this little icon attached to the transaction date range criteria, it'll give you the common things that you're after. So if I just use this calendar year as an example, just saves me typing that in or browsing through the calendar options to select it. So I just OK that, and that will generate the report for me. Not a lot on this demonstration data that I'm using today. So if I just zoom in, and this is the, as I say, this is the summary version of the report. Now, just to point out and we'll look at the detailed one in a moment, you'll see this one here. It says items, and it tells me how many items on our particular invoice. So in this case, I can see for this 1245, which is the transaction number, which relates to invoice 345, I can see there are 3 items on it. Now, by that, we just mean, you might be familiar with transactions being grouped. So if you've got an invoice, you'll have what we term a header transaction, which is a summary of everything, which is what essentially this report shows, the summary. Whereas a detailed report would list the individual parts to that invoice as well, the individual transactions that make up that one. So this one, it's saying it's got 3 items on it. So it means it's what we term, technically it's what you term, it's got 3 splits. When it was entered, either through invoices and credits or via batch invoices, it met the criteria to be grouped. You'll see that on the detailed report when I run it, that this transaction, for reference 345, it should list the three parts. Similarly for 346, we can see there were 2 parts. Now, obviously, you've got totals in here as well. So again, it might be that you want invoices for a particular customer, a particular group of customers, and it means that you've then got the totals in there as well. Now, when you run reports, obviously you've got options for exporting it. So exporting it, if you wanted to, let's say you wanted to save a copy of that report, you can do that. It will default to being a PDF report as well. So PDF's great format if you just want to almost like take an archive of that report. It's really compressed format as well, that one. So just be a case of choosing where you want to store that report, give it a file name, make sure it's PDF. There are loads of formats available. If you did want to save it as an Excel file or whatever, but you can do that. But more commonly, you're just going to save it as a PDF, which is a copy of the report itself. So it'll save it. And when you open it, it will just look like in this format. You've also got report to Excel. So you can actually select that from just when you go to highlight the main report itself. If you choose report to Excel. Now this is probably quite a good example, this report, for sending it to Excel, because it's quite structured. You get this sort of format. So it looks like a copy of the report that you're previewing, and it'll just copy it into Excel for you. The thing to watch out for with things like this is sometimes you might find you've got merged cells. You find that's a quite a common sort of query when we cover that. It's quite a common query to our support team, I should say. But it lists it. If you want to manipulate the data, you can. The other one is data to Excel. But when I send data to Excel, again, quite a good format, this one. Usually this one is used where maybe you want to do further analysis. So it sends it in this format. There'll probably a lot of information on here that you probably don't want. So we just expand some of these column headings. Things like your company name, puts that at the start of each line. Probably don't need that on your report. But because it does it in this format, it means you can add additional filters if you wanted to. So if you've got a great big list and you think, well, actually, now I just want a list of transactions for a particular customer, we can go in and say, right, actually, we only want this A1D001 account. You can't see the customer name from this. That's the only thing. You need to know the account reference. So we can just apply a filter just like that. So it makes it nice and straightforward, that one. Might just save you having to, run the report time and time again. So you want it for, 10 customers, but you want it individually. So we'll send it to Excel, and then you've got the information. The only thing it doesn't do when it sends the data to Excel, it doesn't put totals on because it's sending that data across. Easy enough to obviously put the totals in yourself if you need that, though. Right, let's just close out of that as well. Now, as I say, this is the summary report. So we just close out of that one. We'll have a quick look at the detailed reports. Choose that one. Criteria is a little bit different this time. So we can still specify invoices, still got customer reference, transaction date range. So again, I'll just do this calendar year. I'll do if I choose the right option, just to try and narrow it down, just so I don't get that massive list each time. We've got transaction number. Obviously now we've also got department and nominal code. So department and nominal code are they're recorded against what you would term transactional level or split level, rather than I couldn't think of the word there, what we term the header level, which is what the summary shows. So this means that we can now narrow it down by nominal code if we wanted to. So if you wanted a list of invoices that have been posted to a particular nominal code, we can get at that level of information. I'll just accept that criteria though, so you can see that. And also this time you'll be able to see the breakdown of those transactions that I mentioned. We'll just zoom in. Hopefully you can see that nice and clearly. And we can see that transaction 345. So remember it mentioned there were 3 items. We've now got that listed. And obviously that last one, 346, it was indicating there were 2 items on it. So we've got the individual parts now listed. So this is what you would term, as I say, the split level. So you find that's quite common throughout, whether that's you're running customer reports or supplier reports or from within the bank. You find these standard sort of daybook reports. The idea of daybooks is it'll give you a listing for a particular period. That's what daybooks traditionally are, just lists of transactions for whatever period you specify. Now, you're probably in a position where you probably want to narrow it down at some point. And yes, we can go through highlighting records, and then it will only base the report around the records that we've selected. Now, as far as highlighting records is concerned, there are 2 options in Sage. Always like to mention this because you probably want to have a go of it and choose your preferred method. So this is what we term the Sage selection style that I've got set up, which is like an on-off, like highlight option. So I click on the Fred Bryant, it highlights it, leaves everything else highlighted that I did select. If I want to deselect it again, just click on it. So it's like that's what I would term that on-off sort of selection. If yours isn't working like that, or maybe you want to try the other way of selecting records, you would just go to Tools, Options, and then on the Environment tab, you have the options here. So these are the two, what we term the list selection style. So I'm set up for Sage, which is a traditional one. I think if you use Sage a long time, if you're like me, you're probably biased towards that one. But you've got the Windows selection style as well. So you can always toggle between them. That's something that's PC specific as well. So it doesn't impact on your colleagues, that one. So if you prefer one and they prefer the other, that's fine. So I'll just leave it set to Windows selection style just so you can see the difference. Just OK that. Pop into customers. And now if I highlight Fred Bryant, click on it, that's fine. But if I click onto, say, John Smith, you'll see that as I keep clicking, the highlight just follows me around. So if you're in that position, you're thinking, well, I want to select multiple records, a bit like Michael did, or I only want certain records to be included, then you can do one of two things as a way of highlighting records. If I want to select a range of records, so let's say I want to go from this Bronson Incorporated down to Kinghorn and French, I can just hold down the Shift key and then click onto Kinghorn and French. It will highlight everything in between. Now let's say I want to add Malcolm Hall Associates. Now if I just release all the keys on my keyboard and click Malcolm Hall Associates, you'll see what happens. You've been spending a little bit of time making your selection, then you release that Shift key and you click onto something else. You think, oh no, I've just lost those highlights. Other way you can do it as well is using a Control key. If you hold down your Control key, and then if I just randomly click, you'll see it highlights those for me. So use a combination of that. You can also do Control and A as well, which will highlight everything. And again, you've got these, remember you've got the swap and the clear options at the top. Sometimes it might be a case that you want everything except certain accounts. So if I highlight everything by clicking swap, and then just if I hold down the Control key at that point, I can just deselect certain records. So I might think, right, I don't want those three. So I'll remove the highlights and that's it done. Swap option, just in case you're not familiar with that one as well, it just reverses the selection. So if I click onto that one, you'll see the three that I had deselected are now highlighted and the others are deselected now. Just click clear, it'll remove that. The other thing to quickly mention as well, and this is something that some of you may have attended this session or you might already be familiar with, filters. So applying a filter beforehand, you might think, well, actually, I only want to include certain records, and that might be a lot quicker. So you can see in my case, I've renamed the analysis one field within the customer record to customer type. And I've got my customers either flagged as trade, I've got one flagged as cash, and I've got a few flagged as public as well. Now, you could use the analysis fields for anything. So let's say you want the daybook report, but you're only wanting it for, let's say, your trade customers. You might have analysis types set up for like account managers, for instance, or by region. And it's up to you what you use them for, really, but I've got them set up for customer type. So let's say I wanted to run a daybook report based on the customers that I've got flagged as, say, public. I can go into filter. If you've never used filters before, add so much flexibility to your reports. Sometimes it can save a lot of time comparing to going down your list, highlighting the ones you're after. So if I apply a basic filter, and I'll just base it around customer type that I've got set up, and I'll say is equal to, and I'm just going to type in public. If I apply that, click close, you'll see my customer type column heading is just listing the ones that meet that criteria, and then I can go and run the reports. So if I run that daybook report now, just run the summary so it's a little bit shorter, and I'll just accept all the criteria. So I'll just accept the full date range this time, and we get that list. So it's only including those ones that we've got highlighted, or that were listed, I should say. So if you've never used filters before, maybe that's a good way of thinking about it for you, using customer types or account managers. Just in case anyone else is wondering as well, how did I get that column to be displayed? All I did is I right-clicked the column heading, and I'll just look for that column there. Now, the analysis fields are near the bottom. So you've got the 6. I've got one called customer type, rep, region, and then 4, 5, 6. I've not renamed the others. But again, you could base it on whatever you want. It's a good option as well, incidentally, for things like email or print. So if you store things like email, say your statements to some customers, and maybe you print them out for others. Again, you might flag them and then apply a filter to only display the ones that you print first of all, then do your statement run, print them out, and then revert that so it only displays email only, and then email out your statements. So filter's really flexible, and it can speed things up a little bit. And if you do apply a filter, again, so I went back to setting that, switching this one back on, it doesn't impact on my colleagues, that one. So they'll still see the list as per whatever order and filters and anything like that that they've got applied. They will still see their own. Again, you can toggle it on and off very easily, just using this little sort of filter icon at the top. Does anyone have any initial questions at this stage? If you do think of a use for those analysis types as well, where we've got customer type, for instance, you can easily go in and into settings, configuration, and on the custom fields tab at the top, this is where you can rename them. So you can rename the fields that appear within the customer record itself. You've got them for other areas as well. So if you wanted to call one, for account manager, you can change the text in here. So I'll just do that. Just okay that. And then when I go into customers, if I pop into a record, go into defaults, you'll see that that text is there at the top. Now just type whatever in there. Just means you've got that then available for filters, meaning that your reports can be sort of, I suppose, contained a bit more, narrowing it down so that you get the information that you're after. There is a recorded webinar on filters. There should be one on analysis fields on the recordings list as well. So again, do check those out if you are interested. Actually, speaking of applying filters and selecting records, if I just go back to my slides for a moment, I've included that couple of useful links down there on selecting records, and also that video on filtering your customer list. So if you are interested, do check that information out as well. A couple of useful links for you as well. Daybook reports, I'll give you a bit of an overview of that, and also the link to the article where we either removed certain reports. Obviously, there's a bit of analytics goes on in the background as to which reports do get used, and there are hundreds of reports there that have been added over the years. So the attempt this time just to consolidate it a little bit, just to narrow it down to help you find your reports just that little bit easier. So I've included the links to the Help Center articles if you need them. So a bit of a whirlwind tour. If you've got any questions, if you want to quickly pop them in there now, I will pick those up before we disappear. Remember, there is the opportunity to download the handout if you are interested. So a copy of today's slides that we've used. It's got those couple of links on there that you might find useful. And of course, that the webinar has been recorded, and a link to that recording will be included on your follow-up email, which you get round about an hour's time. Right, if you've got any, so I'll hang around for questions just in case there are any. So webinars wise, loads on there. I'll just give you an inkling of what's included if I quickly share my screen. And I'll bring up the webinar page so we can have a look at that one. So remember, this link will be included on your follow-up emails. If anyone wants to find out a little bit more about 50 Cloud, running loads of webinars on that at the minute. So that will be the new version as and when it becomes available. I think it will probably be the next few months. But again, it's just at the testing phase at the moment. So we'd like to keep you informed just to stay ahead of the curve a little bit. There's Copilot. If you haven't attended that one or you're still in the dark about Copilot, please get yourself signed up for that one as well. And Abby's running sessions on Sage Expenses at the moment, and obviously Making Tax Digital as well. But these are the sessions that we've got booked in at the moment. Obviously, we've run that one yesterday. This is today's session. Continuing with that theme of reporting. Tomorrow we've got the sales ledger turnover report that we're going to look at. It seems to be a common report, that one. Got loads of questions on it. So we'll be looking at that one in a bit more detail. Batch reporting. And then if we scroll a little bit further down, you'll see the new sessions that we've literally just added. So as I say, there's a common theme of nominal throughout September. So looking at the basics of looking at your list, adding records, managing your lists. We've got some sessions on journals, so posting manual journals, importing journals, correcting journals. We've got some on manually posting things like prepayments, accruals, salary information, opening, closing stock. This is a brand new session, this one, understanding and posting previous year adjustments. We always get asked loads about that one. We've got the management report sessions in there. We've broken it down to make them more bite-sized chunks. We've got 3 of those, and then we've got things like year-end, etc. in there as well. So if you are interested, when you get your follow-up email, use that link, get yourself registered. If you can't attend, then if you have registered, you'll just be sent the link automatically on the follow-up email. If you don't register, then remember they're going to be easy to access anyway from our recordings page. So just watch out for that one, and do check out that list and get yourself registered if you are interested. Right, so final call for questions. If you've got any, I don't think I've had any today. And then finally, thanks for coming along. Hope you've enjoyed that. Short and sweet today's session. So do take that minute to complete the survey that should pop up as you leave today's session. Watch out for your follow-up email. Check out the registration page. Get yourself registered for those, any that interest you. And if you can't attend, remember there is that recordings page as well. I've got no outstanding questions, so we'll end the webinar just at that point. Do take that minute. It's all we ask. If you can complete that survey, we really appreciate that. Any feedback you have, thoughts, ideas, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, let us know. So pop it on the survey. Right, we'll end the webinar just at that point. Hopefully, I'll see you again on some other webinars very soon. Many thanks.